So tell me, where were you born?
Well, I was born in a house that was where that giant pine tree is now. Actually, it's not a pine. What is it? It's a
Oh, the fir tree?
fir. Well, yeah, it's
Oh,
that one
right there. Yeah.
right there, and that's where the original house was.
Okay.
And then so I was born there, and then in 1945
Yeah.
we built this house where we're standing now,
Huh.
or sitting now, and actually the old house, which is where the four boys slept in one room upstairs, and
Yeah.
my sister Elaine
Right.
slept in the other, and then my parents slept in that other small room. So right now where Lauren and Hannah are sleeping, that's where
Right.
four brothers slept when we all grew up in that one room.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you born in that house and not a hospital? Like,
No, we were all born none of us were born in the hospital.
okay.
And then I had a sister, Ruth, who was between Ed and me. So she died of pneumonia as an infant because they didn't have medicines back then to
Same care.
deal with it.
Wow.
And,
So how many brothers do you have?
well, I have four: Harvey, Leonard, Ed. Well, three.
Yeah.
And me, I guess they call me
Yeah,
a brother.
Yep, you're one of
Yeah.
four.
Yeah, so we're one of four.
Wow. And you're the
And
baby of the family.
I'm the baby, yeah. Goes Elaine, Harvey, Leonard, Ed, and me. Yeah. So,
Wow. And tell me a little bit about the house when it was first built. So your dad built that house himself?
yeah, the house was built by my dad and his friends, and all the lumber in the old house was cut in the either here on this farm or on a 80 acres my dad owned, which is, just around the corner.
Yeah.
And then, well, since he sold that land, but anyway, they cut all the timber, and then the lumber was at that time there was a sawmill in Hagen, which you know where Hagen is.
Yep.
So they sawed all the lumber there, and it's just did everything.
Everything themselves.
Yeah, and then I suppose they built. I don't remember it, but I suppose they don't know. I don't know if they had buzz saws then or not. I mean, I don't. I guess
Yeah, how they did all that.
how they did all that, I don't know.
And when the house was first built, I imagine there was no indoor plumbing. There was no toilet inside, or was there? You know,
No,
outside?
in the new house, that was the first time we had indoor plumbing. So
Okay.
for the first 4 years of my life, there was not indoor plumbing.
So it was just an
Yeah.
outhouse.
An outhouse, right? Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
And I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
that's what I've been told.
Right. Right. Well, I'm sure your brothers and Elaine remember that a little more.
Yeah, I would think
Detailed
so.
than you.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was probably. Did your mom have a washer or dryer?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they did I would guess the first time I had a washer and dryer was in the new house.
Yeah.
But I don't know even then. I just kind of assumed they had a washer. Well, I know they had a washer.
Yeah, I remember your
And
grandma
they-
having a clothes. There was a clothesline.
Yeah,
Right.
well, what they, unfortunately, I do remember the hand washer thing.
Oh yeah.
Because I threw it when I was a younger man. I threw it in the junk pile, and now, of course, it would be a treasure if they
Right.
have, but
Yeah, it's like an
but it
antique.
ended up in the junk pile. Oh, Sprouty, where you? Yeah,
Sprouts
time
done-
for
done
lunch.
with the interview.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your mom and dad. Like where did they grow up? Your mom and dad.
Well, my dad was born in Piteå, Sweden, which is just inside the Arctic Circle,
Mm-hmm.
and he came here when with his brother and sister, and I think, well, my dad I think was 23. I'm not positive anymore, and he was the oldest. And then my mom was also born in Sweden, but then my grandpa came over before they were a year old, and they never went back to Sweden.
And so your mom immigrated and moved. Was she in Chicago, or how did your parents meet? I guess.
Yeah, my dad moved, and this is what I've been told, so
Yeah.
I don't know if it's exactly right,
Yeah.
but when he came over, he got a job first of all in I think in Ohio, slaughtering pigs or something like that.
Okay.
And he did that for a while. And my mom was in Chicago also as a maid for, I don't know, in a hotel or motel or
Yeah.
something. And so just how they met, I don't know, but somehow they met in Chicago.
Right.
And then they, I think that my uncle Henry, who was married to my dad's sister, bought, or used to come up here to vacation on Long Lake, and I guess I wish, maybe my brothers remember,
Yeah.
but somehow they ended up in here and liked it, and my dad saved his money, and they bought first of all they bought the 40 acres where we're sitting now. So
Okay.
that would have been in 1940s, maybe even before then they might have bought it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good,
Were you
but then I was just a little kid, or maybe I wasn't even born. I think I wasn't even. I'm pretty sure they bought the land during the Depression, because I've still got I've got
Oh,
the
some of those
deeds.
records?
I mean, I've got all the
Yeah,
records.
yeah.
There's somewhere. I mean, they're in. I mean, if I search around, I could find them.
Right.
And then we've got all the transactions. They borrowed money from the Brill Bank. That's where they banked, and so that I can't remember, but then the house payments were like $10 a month or something.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So how did your dad get into dairy farming?
Well, what happened in this area was after around 1900, or this whole area was covered by white pines. I mean, just gigantic, huge white pines. And if you drive, which maybe you have, up towards Hayward
Yeah.
in the National Forest,
Right.
some of them still exist. They're almost as big as redwoods. And then Knapp Stout, you probably remember the names Knapp Stout.
Yeah. Sure.
They just decimated this area. I mean, they ended up causing, monstrous forest fires, including the Pestigo fire,
Oh wow.
because what they would do, they windrowed, these were all pines, and when those pine needles dried, they were like, you'd drop a match in them, it was like gasoline. And the worst story, of course, was Pestigo, where thousands of people burned to death. And
Terrible.
so anyway, that was part of the sequence. But then after that,
Yeah.
the land was cleared, so you could, I think, if you moved here, you could get 40 acres for free. I mean, it was part of the national.
They were trying to encourage
They
people.
encouraged people
Oh.
to farm here. So, and in this area, the area just in the Rice Lake and
Yeah.
in the Delta part, is just beautiful, fertile soil. And of course, my dad, having grown up in Sweden where there's rocks and hills,
Right.
he had a choice of buying the prime farmland at the same price. But of course, all the Swedes bought oh boy, look at there, rocks and
Yeah.
solid clay, just like home, big hills.
Right. Makes sense.
So it was, I've always chuckled about that. I used to kid my dad about it.
Aw.
Yeah. So anyway, then well, he started off as, he had just, I think in the beginning, just had a couple cows, enough to
Yeah.
with milk and meat. And then he developed into a skilled carpenter. So that's, I mean, he worked for, well, first of all, he worked on the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Oh, right.
And then when that job was finished, I'm talking, he did it a number of years.
Okay.
He'd live away from home.
Yeah.
And then he would come back, and then he would work for farmers or loggers or doing general
Yeah.
labor to make some money. So, but he was, and I think that's in part why all my brothers are, well, my brother Harvey is a skilled carpenter. I mean, he's built furniture and stuff.
Yeah.
And Leonard was also a very good carpenter. And then Ed and I are what you call rough carpenters. I mean,
Yeah. You have
we
some
can
skill.
build things too, but we don't like to necessarily have them square.
That's
We want to get it done.
right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pause 1 second.
Okay.